the way you bring people together to grow all together and keep improving by ourselves, but also because we improve by ourselves, we improve our players, and that is the goal. I'm Zeb Jacobs. I'm from Belgium. I live in Antwerp. I'm talent coordinator at Royal Antwerp Football Club, a first division team. We also play in Europe. We won 1-0 against Tottenham 2 weeks ago. We also won the trophy, the cup trophy. We won the cup final. We are a new club. We have a new investor. We got some new people, and we want to build a real talent gold mine. I mean by that, we believe that Antwerp is big enough to build the future of the Belgian football. So we try to look in a different way than other clubs. We have less money, so we have to do it different. And we think that by knowledge and by creating a culture and an environment where development or where children can develop by themselves is the way we want to develop the next generation of Red Devils for our national team. So I'm Zeb Jacobs. When I was younger, so I'm 25 now, I'm full-time talent coordinator at Royal Antwerp. When I was younger, I played at the highest level, youth soccer, also from KV Mechelen, Royal Antwerp. I had a scholarship, so I went to the elite soccer school, but I didn't become a pro, and I shifted my mindset, and I went all into coaching. I started studying about the development of children. How do they develop? How do they learn? And the combination of my experience to train and play at the highest level and the knowledge I have from my studies is what I'm doing now. I'm influenced by a few people in the basket world, so I let inspire myself by an environment of coaches of different sports. So I'm really looking forward to share my presentation about the talent coach. Like I said, I'm a talent coordinator, and in our club we work with talent coaches. A lot of clubs work with individual coaches. I believe in talent coaches because a talent coach looks to the bigger picture. He wants to maximize potential, where an individual coach is with one individual player on the field, kicking 50 balls after each other to the goal. A talent coach is much more than that. He's there for the child. He believes in the process. He's building relations, building a bond with the players to maximize real potential. So this is who I am. Beside that, like Paul said, I'm very active on social media. I try to share and inspire content to inspire people and get in touch with a lot of interesting people all around the world. I went to China last summer. I went to Swiss. I went to Germany to talk and discuss about the game we love the most. So this is who I am. So the presentation is called The Talent Coach. Like I said, a talent coach looks at the bigger picture. You have a coach, you have a trainer, but as a coach, like we all know, we are much more than that. We have to plan, we have to talk with players, we have to care about the well-being. So a talent coach look at the bigger picture, and we got two segments. The first thing is talent development. How do we look at talent and how do we look at the development of children? And the second one is skill development, because a talent coach doesn't care that much about the team process and about team tactical things, but he cares about the individual. So skill development is an important part of individual development, or skill development is an important part of individual development. So the first one is talent development. And as a talent coach, like I said, you're much more than just a trainer or just a coach. I decided to put it in 5 roles that you have to take the right role on the right moment in the process of children. The 5 roles are: you're a guide, you're a coach, you're a trainer, you're a mentor, and inspirator. To bring structure in these 5 roles, the coaches perfectly in our club, or the talent coach in our club, perfectly know in which role they are in which moment. So they're not a trainer when they're in an individual talk and when something went wrong with a player, or when something is not feeling that good. Then you're not the role of a trainer, but then you're more the role of a mentor and inspirator. So The first role you have as a talent coach is you guide players to an elite environment. What does the player have to do and not to do to become an athlete? So you're guiding the player through the top sport world to the elite environment. What do I have to do to become that top athlete? What do I have to do to maximize my potential? The second role you have is be a coach, and you're reflecting with and about the player's behavior. So together with the athlete or with the player, you're reflecting what is your behavior to do, how do you behave, and does that fit in what you want to achieve? So when a player said, I want to become a pro player, but he doesn't sleep that well, or he doesn't eat that well, he's always late at a session or whatever, then his behavior today doesn't fit in his ambition and his goals. So you're reflecting together, what is your ambition and what is your behavior today, and is that a match? The third role, you're the trainer. That's what you do on the field. You take the role as a skills trainer because you care about the individual development. So you don't take the team tactical things for you, but you care about the individual development on the training session. And as a trainer, you can take players out of their environment, out of their team to work individual on their technical skills. But what we do, we believe in context training, also in skill development. That means that our talent coach is going to the team. So we don't take a player out of his team, but we believe that as a coach, you can go to the team to coach an individual in his context. The fourth role we have is a mentor. Here you're searching with the player of his purpose, identity, and ambition. Who does he want to be? Who does he want to become? Why is he doing what he does? And the fifth role is the inspirator. You're constantly inspiring players by using their dreams. So if you say they want to be playing Barcelona, is he doing what he do? And in difficult times, take his dream and remind him of his dreams. So shifting between this role on the right moment, see what the player needs, which role he needs, is crucial for the development, to optimize the development of children and to create trust. So be the right person or be the right role on the right moment.
World. I had an amazing discovery. This is a really big deal for me. I was 45. I'd been conducting for over 20 years, and suddenly one day I had this kind of road to Damascus event. Eureka! I realized the conductor of an orchestra doesn't make a sound. My picture appears on the front of the CD. But the conductor doesn't make a sound. He depends for his power on his ability to make other people powerful. And when that happened, it changed everything. People in my orchestra said, "What happened to you, Ben? What happened?" That was what happened. I realized my job was to awaken possibility in other people. Because I wanted to know whether I was doing that. And you know how you find out? You look at their eyes. If their eyes are shining, you know you're doing it. You could light up a village with this guy's eyes. If the eyes are shining, you know you're doing it. If the eyes are not shining, you get to ask a question. Who am I being that my players' eyes are not shining? We can do that with our children too. Who am I being that my children's eyes are not shining? Now over here,
So what he's saying, that what is the main goal of coaching younger children? It's to create the shining eyes. And how can you create shining eyes? It's about individual attention. It's about being the right role in the right moment, because children want to get better. So don't be the inspirator when we're coaching on the field, be a trainer. So being the right role on the right moment to create shining eyes and fulfill the needs of the player. The conductor doesn't make a sound, and I mean by that, it isn't about us, it's about the players. So your role is to inspire, to motivate, and to awaken possibility in your children or in your players. And when we see at the development process, this is triangle, and a lot of coaches focus on the weekend, and that's winning. On Saturday or on Sunday, I don't know when you're gamed or played, you want to win, and that's good because children want to win too. But winning is only the outcome. So don't focus or start by winning, but start by developing a relation. Go in relation with your players and create a bond with every individual in the team. When there is a bond, when there is a relation, players are more likely to trust coaches they like, and not like because you're a funny coach, but like because you're honest. You reflect with the players, because you always got the players back. And when players feel that there is a relation, there is a bond, they will accept much more when you start developing and when you start teaching skills on the pitch. And when you start developing and when you start getting better, you automatically will go perform and win. As a talent coach, you're always focusing on the relation between you and the player. When there is a bond, when the player feels safe, his learning ability will increase immediately. So create relationships, create a bond, and the rest will follow. Then you will develop, then you can give them knowledge, then you can start training on the pitch, and then you can start winning and performing at the end. And I think the next slide is one of Steve Kerr, the NBA coach of the Golden State Warriors, where he's talking about relationship.
See you. You're our starting center. I want to get to know you. And so I tried to establish a relationship with each guy through communication, through a lunch here, a dinner there, before I started yelling at them on the first day of practice. You know, they tend to listen a little bit better if they know you actually care. You know, and so that, to me, that's the first order of business for any leader in any field, is develop the relationship first. And then you can lay out your vision and you talk about your plans for you know what you have in store. But every person I've ever known responds to that human connection.
When you were in Phoenix and you started to take on that.
So also Steve Kerr at the highest level is saying that he's building relationship. Is it children or is it adults? It doesn't matter. It's all about relationship. It's about well-being. When you feel good, when you feel safe, children have dare to make mistakes. So create a bond, create relationships, and the rest will follow. How can you build a relationship in an easy way? I got 4 KPIs to give individual attention and go into a relation and create a bond. And why these 4 things? Because they don't have a big impact on your session. You don't have to create team buildings, or you don't have to do crazy things to go in a relation or in a bond. You are just habits. It's a coach behavior. And when you do this every session, every time you're there with the kids, you will increase your bond. You will increase your relation, and you will see kids will learn faster. So the first thing is say something personal every time you see somebody. The second thing is create flight paths. I'll explain later. The third thing is have pre-practice, quick contacts. And the fourth thing is take time for minute meetings. So the first thing, say something personal. I have to see that. Say something personal. It's all about get a basic understanding and knowledge of your player's background and the family. Sometimes players have more difficult time opening up and talking about their life and family. Try to feel them safe, and talk also about non-soccer related things. So say something personal when you arrive at the club and you bump into a player and he has his haircut done. Say something about his haircut. Say something about his new shoes. Which families you come from? How was your parents? What have you done this weekend? Just personal things you can say any moment you're with them. Try to feel them safe. Try to let them feel that you care about him, and not only soccer related things, not only about their personal development plan or about where they have to improve, or just about the children behind the player. The second thing is what I love the most, because it's very, very practical, create flight paths. You should constantly be on the move, and you try to bump into as many players as possible to create collisions that be unintentionally. As a talent coach, you care about people and you want a lot of contact with your players. If you start creating flight paths and walk through the training session, walk through the dressing room, and when there's a water break, walk through the group and unintentionally bump into players to have a quick chat, a quick connection. It can be high five, it can be eye contact, it can be a hug, a shoulder touch. So always be on the move and try to bump into people and say something personal or have a contact, because a high five is so much more than a high five. And high five say, I'm here for you. You got this. I got your back. In the NBA, there was a scientific search that teams who have more high five rated that they bonds between them also much higher. So a high five is underrated. So create fly pads, say something personal. The third one, quick contact. Asking quick questions that gets them to talk more than just answering yes, no. And also physical contact is important because it means giving high fives during practice or putting a hand on their back or shoulder while talking to them, or what I just said. Because being physical creates a bond. Don't underestimate that. There is a hormone, a hug hormone. When you give a hug at someone, there is a hormone coming free that creates safety. That is like they're safe. There's a bond. So quick contacts constantly, and try to get open questions where there's more than yes and no. How was your week? What have you done this weekend? Open questions to let them talk. And the fourth one, create minute meetings. Ask players to come a little bit earlier, a little bit late. Don't too much time, not too heavy, just a minute meeting or 2 minute meetings. They're done during pre-practice, and it can be on the pitch or next to each. Here I'm saying that when you take your group from the dressing room to the field, that can be the most important moment of the session. It's 1 minute walk, it's 30 seconds walk. I don't know how long you have to walk from the dressing room to the pitch, but this walk next to player, ask questions. What is in his head? What is between players? So you can stop issues before they become a problem. So players feel that you care about them before you're going to teach them. The walk from the dressing room to the pitch is a walk where you have to show that you care about them, that you're there for them. So these 4 rules are easy rules you can implement in your behavior, in your coaching, and you'll see your bond with your players, the level of trust will increase at a very high speed. And this is maybe a very simplified version of the development process. On the left side, you see talent with a question, because the first question we have to ask ourselves is, what is a talent today? What does it mean to be a talent? What is talent? And then you see the straight line, that means the process to a pro. And after the pro is also a question, because what does a pro in the future looks like? Because we all training children, we're young kids, and we have to prepare them for the future. Maybe when a child is 10 years old right now, he will be a pro when he's 20. So there is 10 years we have to predict how the game will process and how the game looks like in 10 years. So we have to predict the future game. We have to ask ourselves, what is talent today? And the answer on that 2 questions is how we fill in our session, our training session. And that process, the straight line over here, is influenced by 3 things: the environment, in which situation is the child growing up, where does he play, where does he go to school, what is he able to train in an elite environment, is he able to train with good coaches, but also luck. You see the dice, of course there is luck. But something is wrong with this simplified version of the process, because this is a straight line, and development doesn't go straight. The development is a process with a wavy line. It's like a marathon and not a sprint. It's with a lot of ups and downs. But a non-linear development means that the best of today are not always the best in the future, because some children who are very good today can slow down their process, where children who are not that good today can accelerate in their process. So predicting future performance is so difficult. And that's because of the development is going always this way. So development is a non-linear process. And this is what a lot of people think. That's what you see on the left side. What people think it looks like about the process. And why you think that the best of today are also the best in the future, you think that performers today are performers in the future, that every player has the same development speed, and that every player has the same needs at the same moment. But development, like I said, is not a straight line. It's a marathon. It's a non-linear process, and means that we cannot predict future performance at a young age. That every player has his own development path and speeds, and development is an individual process with individual needs. And the way you look at development, I unconscious influence your way of coaching. When you believe that performance today, so the players who decide the score of your game in the weekend today, the guys who score every goal, the guys who are the most powerful, when you believe that they also the performance in the future, your feedback and your coaching and your attention will mostly go to that players. But when you believe that development is a non-linear process, that it's difficult to predict future performance at young age, that you believe that every player has his own path and speeds, where some players can accelerate and other players can slow down and accelerate again, and that the development is an individual process, and it will influence your coaching. Your attention will be much wider. Every player will get the same attention, because and for sure at the younger ages, your coaching behavior will change. So I hope that you were looking like the right side, and that you see development in a non-linear way. And it's very difficult to predict future performance at the younger ages. And of course, you get the biological age. What means that biological age is that children today are much higher, stronger, bigger than other children, and that influence all way of looking. But biological age is a bad predictor of the future, or is no predictor at all for the future. Was there a question, Paul, or?
Zeb, I wanted to ask you a question on that. So do you have an example that you can share with us, maybe from Royal Antwerp, of a player, maybe a talented player, that wasn't performing, or not in a state currently where they're not performing at a high level, and then how did that influence your coaching of that player? And
exactly. When I started coaching, I started as an individual coach at KV Mechelen, another club, and I was an individual coach from the under 9s until the under 14s, and I have always to work with the best players. So I always get the best player by myself, and I work in an individual way with the best. So we have to select. So they ask me select the best under 9 players and train once a week with the group of the best under 9s. And if I look back right now, when I see the under 21s or the under 18s and the 17s, only a few players are still there. And on a bigger level, we all know Jamie Vardy from Leicester City, the striker, Jamie Vardy. He was, when he was 24, 23, 24, 25, he was playing in the 4th division in England. And now he's playing at the top, and he's one of the best strikers in the world. So it's not only at the younger ages when you select the best, you will see that they won't become the best when they get older, but it's in every age. So Jamie Vardy, 22, 23, 24, playing 4th division, sitting on the bench, now 28, performing at the highest level in the world, and one of the best strikers. He also, his path was like this. He went in an elite environment at younger ages. He was playing in a local club, and now he's performing at the highest level. We also have Dries Mertens in Belgium. Dries Mertens, he wasn't accepted by Anderlecht. He wasn't accepted by Agent to top academies. He was rejected because too small, not good enough. And now he's one of the best of a national team, playing for Napoli. So there were a lot of examples when you said to a player, you're not good enough, that doesn't mean that they're not good enough in the future. So we have to be very careful with the word talent. So that's why I asked the question, what is a talent today? What does it mean? I believe that we have to reject the word talent and put it into potential. So what is potential is much more beautiful word that say a lot more what is potential looks like instead of what is talent. But there are many examples. The Dries Mertens in Belgium is very. We shifted our mindset in Belgium. In Belgium, we have national teams, always 2 teams. So the under 15s have 2 teams. They have just the normal team, and we also have the futures. And the futures are a team with a low biological age. So you have the national team under 15 and 16, always 2 teams. One team, the normal team, and another team, the national team at the youth, is the future. In the future are late developers with a low biological age who are not ready to perform at the highest level, but where the Belgian Federation believe that they have the potential to become one of the future Red Devils. To predict that there is another Dries Mertens, where we all say not good enough, and at the end perform. So we want to have a net for players who are not ready yet, but who can become ready. And this is a research from an Australian science. This is a scientific research in Australia. There were 400 Olympic athletes from Australia in a certain years, I think 10 years. And what you see is that only 60% develop themselves linear, 84% develop themselves non-linear. And what you see is a triangle with stages. And it's like the development model, like we all know. At the youngest, at the lowest square segment is a big group we all training. And now at the end of the season, we have an evaluation, and a few players can go to the next stage, and a few players can go to the next stage until we think, oh, these are the players who are ready for a first team. But what the research, what they saw was that only 84%, only 60% was also the best performer at the younger ages. So the arrows who going straight up on the left side, you see, were athletes who were also the best at the younger ages and went always to the next stage of development to a better team or to the next team. The lines in the middle who were crossing lines sideways, upways, and down again, developed themselves non-linear. So 84% weren't the best performance when they were younger. They had a setback. They send away from the team. They have to play a team lower, or they have to stay at the same level. They can go to the next level. So only 60% were the high performers when they were younger, or the high performers right now. And 84% developed themselves in a non-linear way. So they weren't the best when they were younger. They developed themselves like this, and then they were better, then they were slower, like you saw in the arrow of one of the first slides. So very interesting. So this was the shortest segment about talent development. And if I want you to have some takeaways, the first thing is create a bond, create a relationship with your players. Know who the child behind your player is. Like create pathways, create fly paths, have quick contacts, create minute meetings. And the second thing is think about your own vision. How do you look at the process of children? What is your vision on development? If you believe that development, like scientific research said, is a nonlinear process, your behavior as a coach will change automatically. The attention to your children will to every child and not only to the best children. So the two takeaways: create a bond, create relationships. And the second thing is, when you talk about development and about the process, it's a nonlinear process, and believe that every child has the potential to become a future performer at the highest level. Like I said, Dries Mertens, Jamie Vardy are two examples that you can see that future performance doesn't mean that they were the best performers at the youngest ages. Maybe, Paul, there are questions on the first segment?
Yes, any questions out there?
Yeah, I've got a question, Paul.
Great.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Hey, Sam.
Good morning. How's it going? Thank you so much, Zeb, for taking the time with this presentation, and thank you, Paul. Zeb, I agree with a lot of what you're talking about. So thank you. You know, in terms of the development process, the coaching methodologies, all of this stuff, I think is great. I found it interesting when you said about the 1 minute walk out to the session before training, and you mentioned how that could be the most important part about the training. I agree massively in terms of connecting with players and finding those different interpersonal relationships with players, what makes them tick, how you can motivate them, etc., etc. But I sometimes ask myself, if I don't turn up to a session, or if I don't talk to a player, is he still going to perform? I don't think, and look, I'm not trying to say that I disagree with you, but you know, for me, the important thing within training is the players training, is the players playing, is the players enjoying themselves. You know, I was listening to a presentation from Dan Machiki, who's the lead at Arsenal, and he said intentionally sometimes what he used to do. This wasn't at Arsenal. I don't know if he still does this, but when he used to be the assistant academy director at MK Dons, albeit the players were a little bit older, and I think that's a factor. Sometimes from time to time, he would actually go out to a game 10 minutes late, intentionally, to see how the players would react, to see if the leaders were in the group, to see if the players still had that self-motivation. So this is just more of a discussion. I'm not questioning you or disagreeing with you. I just find it very interesting, you know, like, and on a deeper level, you know, because an interesting thing, you know, especially with the unfortunate passing away of Maradona recently, but I've been asking myself, like, in my session practices, my session designs, is a Maradona type-esque player, is a Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi type of player going to enjoy this session? And would they need that self-motivation?
Exactly. Yeah. I think I know what you mean, but I believe that there are two different things. The first thing is you have to create, when you want to give your team a moment to self-regulate their game preparation, like you said, Sam, go 10 minutes out intentionally and stay 10 minutes inside when your players are outside. When you want to make your teams like a self-regulated team where they have peer coaching and where they coaching themselves, and you give the session completely to your players, because that's what we do also. We create street soccer, because we in Belgium, what I believe in our club, we have one street soccer session every week, because that's a place where children are children, where only the strongest survive, where they have to battle, where they have to fall on the ground and stand up again, where they have to take responsibility for themselves and for each other. So the self-regulated part, where you give the ball, the session, the game to the players and take a step back. Before that, you have to, first of all, know who's your team. I believe that, I have to say it in another way. You as a coach, you have one role, and the role is to create an environment where talents develop themselves, because we can develop. Talent has to develop itself. And you have a few parts. One part is safety. When there is safety, players can make mistakes. When there is no safety, players won't make mistakes. When you want to give the game and a session to your players, there has to be safety. When there is no safety, do you hear me? Is my internet connection good, Paul?
It was a little bit choppy, but it's fine now.
Okay. The first phase is create safety. When there is safety, players are there to make mistakes. When they want to make a mistake, you can coach, you can give feedback. But when there is no safety level, the first level, it's also when children is born, you have the first one is there with the mother, they have food, they have a deck above there's a roof. That's safety. And in development, it's always the first thing is safety. When there is safety, then they're going to go self-regulate. Then you give sessions to them, and then they can coach each other. Then they coach themselves. Then they can make mistakes. When they feel when they fall, you're there. You're there to bring them back up, and you have their back. When there is no net and they fall, they won't self-regulate. They won't make mistakes because there is no net. And what I'm saying about the intention and building relationship is the first one. When you want to play trade initiative, when you want to let your players explore, but there is no safety, they won't explore that much than when there is safety. Because when they fail, they know there is a coach who is there for me. So I believe it's first creating safety, and the second step is about now you can give the session to your players. Now you can challenge your players to go out by themselves on the streets. The game is their game. You stay inside. Because they know in their back, the coach is there for us. He has our back. And that's safe. It's the same with children. When a child is born, nobody learns him how to walk. He fall, he stand back up. We don't say, now you step left, now you step, to a baby, we don't say, now you step left, now you step right, now you step left, now you step right. A child go out, fall back up, and he can learn. And he learns how to walk. Because he knows there is safety, there is a mother, there's a roof, I get my parents in my back. So safety is necessary if players, if you want players to start exploring and developing themselves. You know what I mean by the two different parts?
I think we're on the same page. So I agree with you. I just find it interesting. So go into the two analogies that you use, like for the walking, for example. Listen, I can't speak because I'm not a father myself, but you know, I've been around a lot of kids and I've got cousins and stuff like that. When you're helping them to walk, sometimes the parent is there. Sometimes the kid starts trying to walk and you're not even looking, right?
Exactly.
And then
exactly.
And then earlier you used the analogy of Jamie Vardy. Now I wasn't present in his development, but I question how many guiding coaches he had around him, or how many like safe coaches. And
Very
then
good question.
that then infused that
inner spirit and the inner fire. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Correct. Because what you need to understand as well is, earlier you spoke about the street football culture that you guys have in Belgium. What you need to understand is, so I'm in the US. I'm based in Los Angeles. We're very fortunate actually in LA, but believe it or not, and as crazy as this sounds, for me, the street football culture out here is non-existent. And I see Paul doing a fantastic job at Houston, trying to infuse that excitement around football around the younger ages.
Exactly.
So that's why it's just a very fascinating topic. But yeah, I won't take too much of your time, my man. But I appreciate you answering that.
Perfect, Sam. Thanks.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Hey, Zeb, I've got a question for you.
Hey,
First off, really appreciate you being on here, and I really relate to what you're talking about when you're talking about connecting with the individual player. I think it's so important. But my question is, you said earlier that you were an individual coach at another club before this, and you had to choose kind of the best players in between under 9 to under 14 to work with individually. When you look back on that now, do you think that was the correct way to go about it?
Sure not.
And if not, what are you doing now that's different in terms of your focus on the individual and their skill development? Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Very good question. I didn't agree with that, but if I look back right now, on that moment, I was a starting coach, and then they asked me to do that. So for sure, I did that. But like I said, first of all, I don't believe in taking a player out of his context in individual sessions, one-on-one, because football is a game, 11 against 11, in a context, and it's a decision-making process. So first of all, I won't take the player out of the team like I did before. What I do now is first go to the team and train certain players in the context. When there is a game, when there is a team and is playing a game with his team coach, and you're like a talent coach, you can come to the game and coach the player in the game. So on his decisions, by asking the right questions. So are you in the right position right now? Just questions to constant reflecting on what he's doing on that moment, specific moment. First of all, I would like to say that talent is not, you can predict future potential at the age of 8. I believe that you can select future potential or the talented players or potential performers at the age of 12, 13. So if they ask me now, can you select the best under 9s? I said, no, I can select the best under 9s at this moment, but it doesn't matter if I train extra with them, because they will get a little bit better, but all the other players who at the end will be better don't have that sessions. So I believe in more quality for every player, more players, more sessions, better sessions until the age of 12, 13. And after that, we can go to which players need extra attention, which players are accelerating in their development and need that stimulus, need that come out of comfort zone to challenge them. And an individual coach for the better players, or what we think future performance, it doesn't always mean that we have to take him out and this is your individual coach because you're one of the best, but we have to make it more difficult. But you need to get challenged, and get challenged can mean setting goals for his games. You have to to that amount of in a certain game, or maybe you can make it more difficult for them. Put them 1 year older. It's so much more work than 5 sessions out of the context when you have to challenge against bigger guys, against better boys. Maybe make him a captain when he's not the captain. Make him the captain and make him responsible. Like Sam said, make your better players challenge them and make them better in other things, like making the captain and he's responsible for the pre-game talk, for the game talk during the break. So I believe in not taking the best players out of their context and giving them an individual coach, but I believe that you need to challenge your better players to get them out of their comfort zone, because they're better in the training sessions. They play on autopilot. They feel they're good, and we have to keep challenging them. And every player on their level. Some players, you don't have to put them in year old because they're not ready for it, so you don't help them. So we just look at the players, who is where in his development, and what does which player need. And when players are accelerating, we have to challenge it to keep the accelerate going, keep the learning going. When players are going down in their development, maybe we have to create more comfort. Maybe we have to make it more easier. Maybe we have to let him do, and after, when he's accelerating again, we have to come back with him. So it's about predicting and reading this process and the speed of his development, and then we have to decide what are we going to do to accelerate his development and to accelerate his process. And that depends to every player.
Got it. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. The second segment I'm going to talk about is skill development. Are you still good? Yeah.
Yeah, you're cannot hear you right now, Zeb.
Paul?
Your internet went out a little bit now.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Like I said, skill development for me is not one player with the ball doing 50 kicks after each other. Skill development is much more than that. And skill development is part of a talent coach, because it's an individual thing. It's not in team context. It's not about tactical principles, but it's for the individual, his skills. So the first question we ask ourselves is technique an execution of a skill, or is technique an execution of a decision? So technical players, are they good in execution of a skill, or are technical players good in the execution of decisions? I believe that the best players are good in executions of the right decision, because football is a decision-making process. So we have to stay in that process. We have to also, when we are talking about skill development, we have to talk about the decision-making process. And the process looks like, in the first phase, you get perception, players searching for information, scanning. You have to adapt the information. With the information you get, you're making a decision. And when you have made the right decision, you're going to execute or perform the skill. And this process is always a process I try to achieve in my skill sessions. But when I see at skill coaching or skills training today, I see a lot on the left side. You always got a versus, and the left side is what I see the most. When I see skill trainers or technical coaches, the first thing I see, the coach has a good feeling session. Everything went as planned. The players can do the exercises. It looks good. Everything looks good. They do scissor, the chops behind the leg. Everything looks good. But what I believe is when players are struggling, making mistakes and getting errors, and believe me, I don't mean that it has to be too difficult, but they have to train on the, not in the comfort zone, but on the stretch zone, just around the line of the stretch zone. The second thing is, I see a lot of repetitions, reps after reps after reps after reps after reps. But I believe in repetition without repetition. They always have to adapt a little thing, so they get repetitions, but they stay in the decision-making process. And the third thing, I see a lot that players in skill sessions exactly know what to do and when to do. At that cone, you have to do that. At that cone, you have to do that. When you're there, you do that, and then you come back and you do it again. I believe that players have to adapt. It can be colors, it can be players, it can be space, it can be whatever. And when you're training on the left side, where coaches have a good feeling after a session, like this was a good session, it looks very good, you're chasing false progression. And I mean by that, when children are doing things very good, they go in autopilot, you're chasing false progression. Because they're making progression in the session, they're getting better. When you do a whole training session, the first touch, for sure they will getting better at the first touch in the session, but the retention in the long term won't be as good as when they're struggling, when they have to do things again, when they have to adapt, when they have to make decisions. In the long term, the learning or the quality of learning will be much more when they're training on the training sessions at the right side. I'm going to explain. I, for myself, 3 rules. When I'm talking about skill development session, I talk about 3 rules. You have, first of all, the rule of 3. That means no more than 3 details. For example, when I'm talking about the first touch, my 3 details are, first of all, scan on the right time in the right moment. The second thing is bend your knees, and bend your knees on your first touch. And the third thing is your ball has to keep rolling on your touch. Why no more than 3 details? Otherwise, it will choke under pressure. When they come into a situation and you give them a lot of details, they will choke in the situation and they will choke under the pressure. Then you get the rule of 10. Don't do a skill drill longer than 10 minutes. And I don't mean by that you have to shift the whole drill, but you have to change something that players have to adapt. So you don't have to change or go to another drill. You can stay in the same drill, but change something. So keep them out of autopilot. Keep them out of that they know to do, that they know what to do and when to do. And the third thing is, try to keep your explanation under 30 seconds. So I'm always say play more, talk less. And so you get the rule of 3, rule of 10, and rule of 30. That's my how do I say, my structure of way of coaching and building skill sessions. You have 3 types of skill sessions. First of all, I'm going to explain. You have the blocked session. For example, you have 3 sessions a week. 1 session, you do the first touch. The second session on Wednesday, you do about passing. And the third touch, the last one, you do about 1v1 sessions. That's how when you do block practice. When you do serial practice, you're mixing. Say, now we do the session, we split the session in first touch, 1v1. The second session, we do 1v1 passing and kicking. And the last one, we do about ball mastery and 1v1. So when you have a serial and it repeats itself. And random is when they have to constantly to adapt and changing situations. And that's called contextual interference. When player, how bigger the contextual interference, how better the retention and transfer in the long term. But for sure, when you are a coach and you love to have good looking practices, you will grab to the block practices because your performance in the session by itself will improve much more than when you change constantly from skill to skill to skill to skill to skill. So how does a skill session look at our club? We have 5 stations. Every station is 12 minutes. We have warming up. What is a movement session? After the movement sessions, 5 stations to create the random and serial. We are between serial and random to create between serial and random sessions from 12 minutes. But also because, like I said, sorry, I'm too fast. Because don't do the skill longer than 10 minutes. We're not 1 session in the same skill, so we change, and no more than 3 details in every station, and we are in the set between serial and random interference, and that leads to a better retention and transfer at the end. What you see when we talk about skill development and skill sessions today is that a lot of coaches, like in basketball, keep shooting from the same point, and I don't say that block practice is not done, because as a warming up, as ball mastery, you can't get that much touches when you do block practice. And that's what I'm going to show you in the video at the end of the presentation. But when I talk about skill development, like I said before, I want always the decision-making process. And what I use is guided defense. And guided defense, I saw it once in a basketball session and I fell in love with it. Guided defense, you create a different situation, you create a different decision within the same skill on each rep. This concept, known as guided defense, but it is critical that the cue you create is realistic and similar to how defense could guard a particular action or movement within the game. So it has to be realistic, it has to game-like, you have decision, and you have reps. And the last one, for every action in the offense, so for every possible action in the offense, you have to think 3 different ways the defense could guard the action and the subsequent either-or options for the offense. So we create repetitions, but repetitions without repetitions, because we got 3 different ways, like a first touch, 3 different first touches. The cue would be realistic, as you see in the video. It's game-like. We have the decision-making process, and we have repetitions. You have 3 types of defenders. The guided defender is the middle. If we talk about loads, the first one, you have no defender. When you train with players, you can train without any defender. So there are no actions for the defender, and you get many repetitions. And repetitions is good, when repetitions is the mother of learning. So if you want many repetitions, train without defenders, then you get the best repetition and the most successful repetitions. But in the skill process, you will only be in the execution phase, and it's no game-like. The second type of defender is the guided defender. And the guided defender, he has a limitation, as you will see, at the end. They have less reps because you have decisions and they will fail, and you have so sometimes you have to be the defender, sometimes you have to be the attacker. So we have less reps, but you have the whole process. You have perception, decision, and execution. And it's more game-like because you have decision-making. You create a situation. And the last one is an active defender. That's without limitation, just a 1v1 or 2v2. You have not that much reps, but you're in a skill process, you have everything, and it's the most game-like. And I want you to show some guided defenders training sessions, how I introduce or how I use guided defense. But first, my resistance model. This is the resistance I'm always playing with. I build it up from younger ages to the older ages are more in phase 4, active defender. Younger ages are between 1 and 3, but also in one session. I mean by that, you can start a session with 1, go to 2, go to 3, and go to 4. No defender doesn't mean there is no resistance, because the first resistance for a child is their body. They have to master their body, they have to move good, because better movers are better learners. So the first thing is master the body. The second thing is they have to master the ball. Then you can play with time and space. When you have to dribble in the square, make it smaller, make it bigger, give them time. So no defender doesn't mean no resistance. The second load is the passive defender. A passive defender means a defender who can take the ball. He can put pressure, but he can take the ball to simulate a situation. And here I'm saying only if necessary, because I think when it's not necessary, don't use it. But when you believe my passive defender can help me, or can help the attacker learning the skill in a better way, then we use it, or you can use it. The third one is the guided defender. Use it if possible, because it's not always possible, but if it's possible, use it. And the last one, the active defender, just a live defender who can take the ball fast as possible. And fast as possible, why? Because when we talk about skill development, not every child or every age is ready to play on full pressure. We have to take the load down by guided defender, passive defender, or no defenders. But when you feel my players are ready, or this player is ready, he gets an active defender. Like I said, maybe your best players in your skill sessions, you can say to them, when you have to defend on him, you're not a guided defender, but you can be an active defender. That's to challenge within the team, within the context, your better players. So this is the resistance model I use. And I also use the coach model. The first one is, when you explain your session, leave the session by your players and observe what is going good, what is not going good. You have your 3 KPIs of the skill in your mind. Like I said, for the first touch, bend your knees, scan, and keep the ball rolling. So the second phase is the teach. Stop the drill whenever you want. When you're in the teach mode, you can stop the drill whenever you want, and you're really teaching the details. Why, when, and how do you have to put the details into your skill? The third phase is the coaching phase. you're coaching on the fly. I mean by that, you don't interrupt, you keep going. And then I'm always talking about the ice check. The ice check is intensity, concentration, and energy. Because I believe in skill session, the energy and the intensity, because you're not always playing on live defenders, has to be high to create resistance. I believe in high intensity, high energy, and high focus and concentration. So that's what I call the ice check. Instead of keep concentrating, keep speed, keep the focus, keep the energy, I'm just calling ice. So the coaching is, you don't interrupt, you're coaching on the fly, you're coaching details, but they keep going. And the last one, you take a step back, the session, the exercise keeps going, but you're observing and you're reflecting. After that, you bring your players together and you start asking questions. And then it starts all over again. You observe, you're asking questions, you start in the teaching, you coach, you observe, you reflect, and the process starts again. What you see, or why is it important then that it's in steps? Because I know myself as a coach, and I'm always in the teaching mode. And I mean by that, I have the behavior to stop drills too much. But I also know a coach who's always the observer and don't interrupt when necessary. And I also know a coach who is constantly at the high energy, but he don't see details because he's always focusing on the energy, on the passion, on the intention. When you put yourself these roles or these moments of coaching, you'll get everything. You rest, you give yourself time to observe, you give yourself time to interrupt, teach the details, you give yourself time to put the energy in, you give yourself time to ask questions. Otherwise, every coach has a favorite way of coaching. Some coaches are very relaxed, are always calm back, but they don't get the energy, what is necessary to improve in skill development. Other coaches are always interrupting, what I was before. So this is why I made this, because I was always interrupting, and I want to bring structure. And another important thing is, you'll see that the teaching is only the second step. A lot of coaches are starting their session by teaching directly. But when you first try and finding them out, and after you go teaching the details, they can hang up the details to what they were finding and trying. When you start giving the details at the beginning, before they started, they can't hang up in the session what the coach is talking about. So first, let him train, let him play, let him try. After details, so the details reflect to what they tried before. When you do it the other way around, you start teaching, the players can't reflect it to a moment because they're not started yet. So that's why I put at the teach phase only the second one. So I have the resistance from none to active defender, and I have the coach model from the observing phase to the observing and reflect phase. To have structure in my sessions and in my way of training skill development. So, at one slide was about execution of a technique or execution of a decision. And I prefer execution of a decision, but I don't say by that execution of a technique is wrong. Because this is a warming up. There is focus, there is concentration. Every player has his own ball. Every player has a lot of touches. Fast feet, both feet. And this is something you can't create in an open situation. And by the open situation, I mean decisions where defenders coming and go. So execution of a technique in an open space is ideal for warming up. Every player has a ball in an open space. Every skill in our club has a number, though they dribble to each other. I call the number and they know what skill when to do.
De breedte. Robben.
I need to go a little bit over here. Yeah.
Nu kan ik op 1 keer klappen of 3 keer. 1, 2 of 3. Dat is goed. Wat zit daar? Blijf die bal omhoog houden, hè?
What I'm doing here is the juggling part. A lot of we like juggling because juggling is about both feet. Juggling is about a moment of concentration, a moment of view with the ball. Juggling is about laterality, left foot, right foot. But we brought juggling to the next stage, and they have to respond while juggling. They have to do tasks while juggling to create new neural pathways that helps them improve and learning. And you'll see the focus, the concentration, when they're juggling will increase immediately. So I prepare them to train to make it very hard, so they focus, they go in a state of focus, in a state of concentration, because it's so difficult. You have to try it when you see someone, or when you know a player, he can juggle very good, challenge them by responding, clapping, or just saying head, chest, back. You'll see that the ball will fall almost immediately, because the neural pathway isn't there, but you create a way of focus. So in a warming up, in an open space, every player has a ball. These are exercises I'm doing to improve coordination, improve focus, and make players ready to learn in a technical way. The second thing, you have also execution of technique in a closed space. These are just the normal drills I was talking about. Players know what to do and when to do. The only thing what's important and why I'm doing this in a square, there is synchronization. Synchronization has positive impact on learning. There is timing and there is teamwork, because they have to start at the same moment. I give the session to them. I can coach on the detail and the execution of a skill. There is synchronization. So we create focus. When the player is not on time or doesn't start at a time, it means he's not ready to learn, he's not there in the group. So execution of a technique can be in an open space, and this is in a closed space. When I used it in a closed space, I believe in synchronization in rhythm, in a square, in triangles, but they have to do it at the same time, at the same moment. Their head is up. The progression in this is I give time, so I go from 8 seconds, they have to be at the place, to 6 seconds, to 7 seconds, to 4 seconds. So they feel the pressure. I'm counting out of loud, so they feel the stressors. What I love, what I was thinking about to train with a shot clock, like in basketball, they have 24 seconds. I think when you're in a training session, in skill development, it is amazing. It creates stress. You have time. You keep your head up. How much time do I have? So this is another way execution of technique in a closed space. I mostly go from an open to a closed space. So they have space and time enough, to a closed space where I decide how much time do they have, where I can challenge. Then another load can be when I'm standing in the middle, I'm putting fingers or colors so they keep the head up and they have to shout which color is in the air or which number is in the air while doing their exercise that I was asking. So this is about execution of a technique. Now we go into execution of a decision. This was as a demo training at Racing Genk. Racing Genk is in Belgium the best academy. Kevin De Bruyne, Thibaut Courtois, Carrasco, all top world-class players come from the academy. And this is about the first touch. And you'll see that the guided defender over here has a limitation. He has to touch the yellow coin on one side, left or right, is the second player. And the other player has to turn away. And he has to tick the back so he can't escape. You'll see in the video.
Het moment van inspelen. Als een speler te laat inspeelt en is niet in de juiste verbinding staan in contact. En ik sta hier en de verdediger is al.
Here I'm in the teaching mode, like I said before. I'm talking about the details we trained. Now I'm in the teaching mode. The details, the timing of play, on which feet, on which moment you come into the right space.
Ik moet niet pas vertrekken daar als ik hier sta. En eerst contact maken met de bal dragen.
Oh, I hope it works. Okay.
Pas, eruit. Go.
So you see, the second player has to choose a side. The first player has to turn away in the right side, and he has to escape before he has a tick from the defender. So the guided defender has a limitation. I will show it again because it's a little bit delayed. I hope it works. I don't know why it doesn't work.
Eerst contact maken met de bal dragen. Ready?
So the second player has to touch the cone, and then he has to try to take the player on his back. So the guided defender, he can defend, but he has a limitation to touch first the other side. So there's decision making because he has to turn the right way. And at the end, the progression, like I said, I want to give 3 solutions. Solution 1 is turning left. Solution 2 is turning right. The third solution at the end is passing back. When the defender stays behind him, you have to pass it back. He can turn, you have to pass back. So this is an example of turning with a defender in the back with guided defense. This is another example of guided defense in 1v1 sessions to create speed into a 1v1. You can count, but I believe that negative pressures, what we call pressure from behind, create speed and to keep the pace in your 1v1 sessions. Loads with this guided defender can be, he starts with the ball by itself. After this, you'll see the player will throw the ball, so you get the first touch. So the defender chooses a side. When he's run over left or over right, the attacker has to escape from or left or right and then go attack the 1v1. I think this one is with throwing. So this is another load. You throw the ball and you escape on the first touch. And what I wanted to show with these exercises, that it's also skill development is not something by itself. By our club, it developed from the skill to using the skill in a principle. I show you what I mean. Here you get the green player over here is a left central defender with a striker who's putting in pressure. On the right side, you see the same. He's the right central defender. In the middle, you get number 6, who is covered by number 10. What I want to show, or what I want to train, is our central defenders come and dribble into the midfield to create an overload in the center. So whereas skill development started at a younger age, just about the skill, we used the session in the older ages to put it into principles to create, we want central defenders creating an overload in the middle. So what you see is, he comes into the middle, 6 is making space in the back of his number 10, and this is the finish exercise. You see, left is ruling, the right player covered the center. So the other guy came the center because the left central defender comes to the midfield, the right central defender has to close the center. Here the right central defender is not doing that. If we lose the ball, the center is open. Here you see the right central defender closing the center, he's come to the midfield, playing a 2v1 with his number 6, creating the first phase of overload 2v1. So this is the process we use in our club, from skill development, focused on the skill, into skill development in our game principles and how we want to play the game on Saturday. This is an example of guided defense. Was a clinic I gave in Grasshopper Zurich, a very nice club. I'm going to explain first. You have on the right side, the players start dribbling in with an exercise you can choose. And then you have the first touch. Always 3 solutions or 3 ways you can guide the attacker. When the defender, I'm talking about the attacker below, close the white gate, he has an outside first touch. When a defender closes the orange gate, he has an inside first touch. When a defender stays where he is, you have to pass back. So this is guided defense also on the first touch with the 3 possible decisions. And then he can come to play live defense, he can come in the back and put negative pressure. But you have a decision making, you have to read the defender, is he covering the inside or the outside, or is he coming through, I have to pass back. And now it comes into an overload, play as fast as possible. So this is the inside touch. to show you the pass back because there's always, I want always to try 3 solutions to be close to the game. This is also the outside touch. And the loads are 2v1, 3 versus 3. So with the loads you can bring him into the live ball game. So here you're staying, so you have to pass back, decision 3, and come into a 3 versus 3. So this is another way of using guided defense in the execution of a decision. And you see that the repetitions are lower than before, but we're in the whole process, we're in the decision-making process, and what football is. So this was the part about skill development. Questions or something else you want to say or show, Paul?
That was fantastic, Zeb. There's one question on here based from our last presenter, Romeo Jozak. I don't know if you can see it in the chat, but former Croatian technical director, wrote the curriculum about methodology in Croatia, advocates no perception training and purely repetition and stable environment for kids 8 to 12. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it has a place, like you saw in my exercises, and for sure at what they call, we talk about windows of trainability, and a window of trainability in the ages under 10, under 11, under 12, also under 13 is coordination, a big window of trainability, and skill development is about coordination. Skill development is about creating fast feet, is about ball mastery, and that it's almost like coordination with a ball. So the window of trainability says coordination under 9, 10, 11, 12. So for sure, just players with a ball, repetition after repetition has a place. But when you want game transfer, I believe that we have to go, like I said in the loads, we have to go to guided defender and active defense. So I believe that it has a place, but it's the sum of everything. And the older the players get, the more live defenders, active guide defenders you will put into. And the other thing I want to say, you can create loads when you're training with no defenders, like the Croatian guy said. You can create resistance. Repetition without repetition, for example. I didn't put the exercise in it, but maybe I can send it to you, Paul. Just a passing exercise we have like a plate that's a little bit like this, just passing through each other is in a closed space, but the ball is always bouncing different. So we have repetitions, but repetition without repetition, but the ball is not always going in the same level. So, and the other loads can time, space, colors to create awareness. So for sure it has a place, if you can make it fun, if you can make it with the eyes checked when there is intensity, because when there is no intensity and players come into autopilot, the brain will make no new neural pathways. Otherwise, no neural pathways. The other thing about repetition is you create like the wires. They're getting faster and better and better and better. But decision-making, football is decision-making. So I believe not it's that or that, but you go from the coordination age where you do mostly without defenders, but also with defenders, with guided defenders, for example, the process build it up to live defenders and active defenders. So it's a process. It's not only that or only that. It's a process from the younger ages to the older ages. Like a little bit like I said in this slide, the first thing of resistance is none. So like Romeo said, no defender, body, ball, time and space. You can play with bigger spaces, small or less time when you do a passing exercise. In how many seconds they have to be around, or when you're doing dribbling exercise, give them time, give them less space. So you can train without defenders for sure, and you can create repetitions, but play with resistance. Also with small balls, because we are training with different balls. We have small, we have number 1s, number 3, number 4s. Also to resistance, because we want repetition without repetition. The first one, they have to do a first touch with a big ball, then there's a small ball. So we have repetitions of the skill, but without the repetition, but because not everything is the same.
Zeb, a question for you. So in your academy, in your different age groups, how often does the talent coach work with the team coach? And in what way? So say you're talking about 13s, 14s, and 15s. Is there some sort of set schedule that you look to do?
Oh, no, because very good question, Paul. First of all, I was losing myself in schedules, but like I said, development of children is non-linear. So it would be very weird when we have a linear curriculum or schedule with a non-linear development. And I give an example. When I have a talent coach and I put him on the under 9s, but at the under 11s, a player needs the talent coach at that moment, but the talent coach is planned with the under 9, then we have a problem. Maybe in the under 9s at that moment is that not that necessary, and in the under 11s, at that moment, very necessary. But I can't place him of a schedule. So I'm always very careful with schedules. And what we do with the talent coaches, we sit together at the beginning of the week. We reflect on the week before. We look forward to the week that's coming. We see what is the plan of the team and where can you have the biggest impact. So we adapt all way of coaching and all way when we are with a team. It depends on which team or which player needs what attention on a specific moment. So when we put it in a scheme, maybe we are not there when we have to be there for a player or for a team. And on a team level, that means that we have a performance plan, that are mental development workshops. We have a few workshops that our talent coaches are giving. I created them and they have to give it. But also that we want to do them all for every age group. But we are seeing which team is, I give an example, our under 14 has a very difficult time and their body language was dramatic. So we have a very nice workshop about body language. If our scheme would set the workshop body language is at the end of the season or the last month of the season, then we would have missed that moment to come to the point and to interrupt the difficulties with body language on that moment. And that's the same with the talent coaches. I'm trying to read the teams, read the players, which team and player, and then we see, okay, we can do what in the academy. And that's a problem in Belgium. What I think in education at school is a very straight curriculum, like a linear curriculum, but the development is non-linear. So it doesn't work. And I see the same as for sure. There has to be a curriculum to give structure to the coaches and the players. But you have to create space for yourself that you can interrupt and make the development speed and path leading in your academy.
Thank you.
Zeb, do you use that same mentality when it comes to skill development as well? So like one day you'll work on passing, receiving, the next is 1v1s, or is it cyclical in the way you develop skills?
It's a process, because if we would work, every child, from under 13, every player has an individual development plan with individual skills. Younger, we create the fundamentals, like we said, we call it fundamentals, just the basic skills and repetitions, like I showed, all the repetition, all the different skills. And from under 15, they come into an individual development plan where they have small groups. So you have a working point on first touch, me too, we work together. But every child in our academy has a weapon. He has to decide his own weapon. And on the bottle, when they go to drink, they marked his weapon. And one player is very good at 1v1, so his weapon is 1v1, is marked 1v1. So every time he goes to drink, he sees his own weapon. He sees, I'm good at 1v1. So at the younger ages, we're not talking about working points, but we talk about weapons. So until under 13, every player has his water bottle, has his own weapons. So we train everything, but we focus on the weapon in the game. At the end, at week 4, you know every player's weapon of your team. So in games on Saturday or in training sessions, you can coach on the weapons. And children don't care about what they're not good at. That are things that will go later, that we will work later on, because they train everything. But they have to focus on weapons, because I believe that players break through on what they're good at and not on what they're not good at. So until the age of under 13, we're developing weapons, and we try to find the weapon of a player. Like Modric has a weapon of passing, like Ronaldo has a weapon of kicking, Messi 1v1. So every player has his weapon, and every time he's taking a drink, his bottle, he sees his own weapon, and he's reflecting, oh, this is my weapon, this is my weapon. So they have a weapon where they can decide games with at the end. And in 14, when they come into an individual development plan, we start working also on the working points. So bigger, younger ages, everything, but they have a weapon. And when we grow older, it's like, okay, what is the development speed set? What is his working points? What is it, does he need to improve on this moment or something?
Thank you.
Sanjeev, how are you? You're on mute right now, my friend. But Sanjeev was a former presenter of ours a couple months ago, and I know Sanjeev does some wonderful work as well. And I think it's very similar, perhaps, in his guided defending. Sanjeev, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I enjoyed this presentation. Thank you so much. I agree with everything. I've agreed with a lot. I also agree with a lot Romeo had to say as well. I really like the last part you talked about, the weapons. So I was just taking some notes there. So how do you do that? Do you put that on water bottles? Literally, they have their own personalized water bottle?
They just have a normal water bottle, but it's like a sticker. I don't know how you say like a sticker. It's just like a sticker. They can also change whenever they want. When they say, "Coach, I want this weapon. I want to try this weapon," they can change it. The coach we have in our coaching room, we just make a new sticker, and they have a new sticker because they're finding out what am I good at. At the beginning, you'll see everyone will take kicking because they want to score goals. Of everyone to take dribble, and at the older they get, you start asking questions. Hey, you have as weapon, you set yourself. You're very good at 1v1. But what we're seeing is, what do you think? Are you good at that? Do you lose the ball a lot in 1v1 sessions? So you reflect together. And when they're 13, 14, then you have to know the weapon. They can change whenever they want. The beginning of the season is always new, but through the season, we ask a lot. Everybody is still agree with his weapon. We have once a week, we have a tournament where we play in different size of fields, and they can always score 2 points when they score with his weapon. For example, when someone's shooting from far, on the set, that it's a tournament on the 8, on the 9, on the 10, when they shoot from far, and that's his weapon, 2 goals. Shooting out in 1v1, 2 goals. When someone is very good at passing and they get an assist, 2 goals. So we want to give the weapons a real place in the development. Also, the coaching of 5 against 5 in Belgium, under 8, 9, play 5 against 5, is so individual because not they have an individual plan, but because they have weapons. Of course, we have a few principles, like we want to have the ball as fast as possible. We don't want a goal. We want to score as fast as possible. But we coach through the weapons. How can you show your weapons? That works very inspiring to the youngest ages and work on their skill development in a very inspirational way.
So what I do sometimes is I'll take a piece of paper and I'll bring it with me to the game, and I'll give each player a note. Mm-hmm. It's not as sophisticated as a sticker, but they just get their own note, and basically that's their emphasis for the game. So within games, I give them very specific objectives, whether it's
lovely
or whatever it is. And then in training, the key is trying to get this is my goal, is to get myself to this point, and I'm not there yet. But for every single session, my goal is to individualize the session within the team framework, so that every kid has their own individual goal within that session. It's very difficult to do, but not that difficult. It's just a little bit of planning. So if we're playing a 4v4 game, every individual within that is working on their super strength or maybe their weakness. So if someone's super strength is dribbling, I'm either going to make them work on their dribbling, or if their weakness is their weak foot, I'm going to say, okay, in this game, you have to use your weak foot.
And do they decide their own super strengths and weaknesses, or you decide them for them? And is it on all the ages? Is it started from the youngest to?
It's not. It's something I've started to work towards. It's an idea I have. And
you're trying and
implemented it properly yet. But little by little, when we're playing little games, I will give little kids. I work with mostly up to 13 years of age. That's where my joy is. So it's mostly up to those age groups. So I'm always trying to, it's kind of obvious what their super strengths are usually. You know, a kid's really fast. He likes to run with the ball, or he can hit the ball, or he likes to pass, or whatever it is, right? So I try to work on those super strengths, but I definitely try to identify weaknesses. So one of the things that we did this week, we did a project with the players, is I made them watch all their games. And I said, you have to watch your game. It's a self-awareness project, and you have to identify every single touch you take. So if you take 100 touches in the game, you just put a tab down. So it's right foot or left foot. And what I want to do is I'm going to do a presentation next week to them. Once they come up with their tabulation, they give it to me. So maybe someone had 100 touches and maybe 85% was with right foot and 15% left foot. I just want them to be aware that they have the tendency to use their strong foot way more. And so I'm actually going to take a bit of Romeo's presentation and give them bits of that to show them that, look, at this young age, if we could start working on our weak foot and get it up to 60-40, then we have a chance of, you know, becoming a better player.
What we try to do to train the weapons, we're not training them in a team session. We are coaching them, but not training them. So when we're training in a team session, we're coaching on the weapons, but we also have weapon time. So we believe I always saying the training starts when the first players arrive. Mm-hmm. When Young can come on the pitch and can start playing football. Weapons, we have skill challenges, but we call it weapon time. When you come on the pitch, hey guys, weapon time. Or when players are still in the dressing room, hey guys, weapon time. So that's a perfect moment when they're earlier, instead of sitting on the bench waiting when the coach is coming, getting them out of the dressing room, get on the pitch, and it's weapon time. And specifically younger ages, a warming up is not that necessary until on the 10 and 11, 12, 13, when they start growing. It's more important. But younger, they can start passing. Of course, they cannot kicking a ball of 30 meters, but they can start playing small side games or something. So that's what we call weapon time in front of a training session. And when we train 3 times a week, we train 4 times, because one time we train 2 times a day. When you do 3 times a week, 30 minutes, that's 1.5 hour extra each week that you can work on your weapon. So it's almost a training session a week you have on your weapon.
So I've got a question for you, because I flip-flop, and maybe a lot of people would be interested in this. Is I know you talked about street soccer, so you talked about weapon time. There's a big difference between street soccer and weapons, right? So I go back and forth between the both, because I'll usually have activation time before a session starts. So if we start 4:30, you can arrive anytime between 4 and 4:30, right? And sometimes I'll set up nets, and when they show up, it's 1v1, 2v1, 2v2, 3v2.
Exactly.
When there's 3 players, then we got a second setup already. So they just play. And sometimes that goes into an actual game. Like it goes into my training session and becomes a tournament, because it's just going so well. Other times they'll show up and I'll be like, okay, there's 2 kids here. You're the leader. You lead the skill work for 20 seconds, then you lead for 20 seconds. Or you lead for a minute and you change it up every 30 seconds. So I don't have a set philosophy at the moment in terms of, should it be skill work that they come in? Should they do games? Because we, like one of the presenters said, we don't get enough street soccer. We don't get enough skill work. So we're just trying to get them on the ball as much as possible, but we want decision making, but we also want technical.
Exactly. So, I think you can see it in 2 ways in my eyes. The first way is motivation is necessary to learn, and especially when they want to learn by themselves. Maybe you can let them choose. You can choose. You can start doing skill development, or you can start small side games. Or the other way, you can bring structure. You as a coach, if you train 3 times, this time skill development. Tomorrow you in the pre-practice small side games, and the next one skill development, small side. So I think you can choose between structure. Maybe session 1, okay, now we do small side games. The second one we do skill development. Or you can say, maybe I believe more in that, because it's more player-centered learning. They come on the pitch, and they need to have the ability to do both. Maybe some players just want to play a game. Tomorrow they want to do skill session, where other players said, "Oh, today I want to do some skill session before the training, and after I want to do a game." Then you have the motivation, and you will know that the quality of the skill development will be better. Instead of when you say today is skill development, in pre-practice you can do what you want, but they have to do skill development. When a player arrives and said, oh, I want to do skill development. I believe that the quality of the hours they made, of the minutes they made, will be more. But I think you can do both. If you want to have structure, also knowing where you in your field you want to train what, I think you can be structured. If you have space enough, you can say skill development, or you can choose.
I'm pretty sure that when a kid shows up and it's the choice of playing,
exactly,
skill development, there's going to be only 5 or 6% that are going to be skill, which is okay. They want to play.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Good question.
Cool stuff.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question again. I can ask. Yeah. So I'm always concerned about. I agree with. I'm big on kids playing lots of sports, multi-sport. Understand that it's not linear; it's non-linear. Always the question about the really good players: should they play up? Should they play down? Because I have a philosophy that if you're really good, you don't always have to play up, because there should be a percentage of playing against weaker, similar, and stronger. And if you play stronger every time, then maybe you're reliant on physical, and maybe you're relying on your first touch. But if you play against weaker, now you're like, oh, this space is so big. I could dribble, I could try things. And when you're playing against your same level, then you try everything. You play as a normal soccer player. Can you explain this in more detail in terms of individual player development from 8 to 13 years of age? For, like, if you just take a 10-year-old kid, someone that you have in your academy that you can think about, give us an example of what you would do with that player.
Yeah, I have two examples. One example, we have a very good player. We believe he has big potential, and his wheel weapon is very fast. He's so fast. He has a good 1v1. He has good cross, and he's good in finishing. 1 year up, situational. If we would let him play 1 year up, I have to say that the team 1 year up don't have that much possession because it's not a good team. So his weapon is in possession, will not be used that much. So he can keep developing the timing of the runs, the when does he run, how does he run. So we stay him. The team where he's in is very dominant. Is very dominant. What also means that the place behind the defense line of the opponent is also very small because they're winning a lot. They have a lot of possession. So the timing, the runs in less space, and they have more the ball, so they have more repetitions of his runs, is much better for his development. So we keep him to stay in his team. Another thing is, we have another player who is very good. He's master of the ball. He's master of his space. He's the rhythm of the team. And he's always asking to play 1 year older. But he's not taking the responsibility today for his team to let the team play better. So what we believe, we talk with him, your goal today is not, on this moment, improving your touches, improving your passing, improving your awareness, improving your decision-making. Your goal on this moment is improving your leadership. Take your team, on this moment, you're so important for your team. Take your team, start shouting, create a voice, be a leader. We made him the captain. He's not a captain, but his goal now is to be the leader for the team and developing his leadership qualities. And another player who was a striker, biological age very high, but he's always solving problems with his strength and his powerness. So we put him in the year older, so you have to do it in another way because you have to play faster, his first touch has to be better. So there are three different situations because that's a very good question and a very underestimated question. But another thing is you got football intelligence and football qualities, but you got also emotional qualities. And a lot of players are also not ready to play with 1 year older and in specific ages, when some ages are talking about girlfriends and when other players are still playing on the PlayStation. And that's something, like I said, the well-being and the safety environment that you're ready to make mistakes, the net has to be there. And when some players, you put them a year old, that there is not enough safety to learn. So I think, like the three examples, it's different for each situation. So very good question. It depends on what is the learning goal, what is the learning objective you can give to a player. So if the objective can be leadership, put it on leadership, stay in the team. If you want to develop certain skills, you can develop older or younger. Another one, what I'm taking now, it's not a situation with us. When guys are not good at defending, I mean, in the age what I was talking about, they're very dominant. They always have the ball. They have always possession, but his position when they don't have the ball is dramatically. He's capable of physical to play a year older. Maybe he's not that good, but they don't have the ball that much. Maybe you can put him there 1 or 2 games and do a video reflection. Or so I believe you can play with it. It also, it don't have to be like you said. This month you're going to play there. I think exactly it can be this game you're there. This game you play here. This game you play there. Then you make individual development priorly over team development, over winning trophies with your team. Because of course you can keep the best players together to win games, win trophies, and win competitions. But when you care about the individual development, that's exactly what you said. You just look at the scheme. Okay, this is a good team. Here we get a lot of resistance. Here you're playing here. Here you get the resistance is too low. You're playing there. Then you make individual development primarily.
What about so we did this last week in our training, and I know you don't work with girls, but even if we're talking about boys, so what we did last week is we brought in boys that were really technical to work against our girls because we're going to work on defending. So because girls don't move laterally as well as boys do, and boys are more shifty and they have more skill, usually more creative. So we just worked on defending for the girls, and we brought in better boys to play against them, but they couldn't be too fast because if they're too fast, they'll just run by them. So now let's talk about boys. Let's say we're working on under 11 boys. We're introducing some defending concepts. But if you really want them to work on very specific defending concepts, do you think it might be more advantageous to bring in 2-year older boys to work on their technique on dribbling? So let's say we have certain skills that we want to work on with certain boys. So you come in, you're going to work on your attacking skills on dribbling. You're going to work on your defending skills on back to goal and how you're going to defend. Do you think that would be a good concept?
Sure. Another thing, I think you have to change your. That's the same with the linear and non-linear development. Competition is always competition. But it would be perfect if you have no games and you have just look at your team. What are the needs of my team? Also, we are an elite club, what means that we're playing in the elite youth level. But our youth level is not always ready. Some teams are ready, some teams are not ready. But we have to play against the other teams. But some teams, they're in the panic zone. They don't learn anymore because they get punched every time. And we can't adapt because we can't get out of competition. So we had an academy in Belgium who selected, in their eyes, the whispering talents, bring them to their academy. There was no competition, and they select the games when they thought there's a game needed to play. So the question is, one, competition, is it necessary? For me, I think competition is necessary at a certain age because we have to develop also the winners. And the second thing, what kind of competition? Maybe you have to just to pick what you need in your development, and you have to be capable of putting your own game game scheme, what game you play in what moment. You have to keep capable of making it by yourself. The other way around, when you're getting older, when I'm talking about 16, 18, maybe 15, I think you just have to play in a competition and start dealing with difficulties and start dealing when you're bad, okay, fix it. Or when you're too strong, go. That's what there was a big difference. For example, in the Netherlands is well known as a very country that's very good at developing, and you get two different big visions in my eyes. One team, for example, Ajax, when it's 12-0, they said we want 22-0. Park the ball, take the ball, go again. And you get other teams, they take a play rough. Okay, we're 12-0 in front. Now we go instead of 11 against 11, we play with 10 or we play with 9. So it depends on what is your learning goal? What do you want to learn? Well, you want to focus on a specific moment on keep winning because you think that your boys are just playing and don't want to win. Then it's 12 enough, not enough, and you want to go for 16 or 20. When you believe that they have a real winning mentality and you want to bring them difficulties, they too want play rough. So there are visions that are separate and depends on what is learning goal. What do you want to learn? We want to learn to win, keep together, start growing, start developing, work on team tactics. I think that's at the older ages. But I believe if you want to develop individual future performance into your own first team, and make your own scheme and play and choose which team you want to play to train a specific goal. Thanks.
Zeb, thank you so much. Absolutely outstanding. Enjoyed this so much. I've got 3 or 4 pages of notes myself, and I'm definitely going to be, reaching out to you again and contacting you and hopefully going over some more. So many takeaways. I mean, I loved the kind of the flight pattern. I love that part, trying to connect with almost every individual on a team. How many times do you leave a practice session and you haven't spoken to this player or met with that player or learned a little bit about that player, given them a little bit of a tip here. So I think ultimately in the youth, it's all about reaching that individual player. And you don't need something so dramatic as an individual development plan all the time. Something so crazy, something so formal to inspire a player. I really, really like that part. And then my other takeaway that and I've always believed in this, was, variety and adaptability. It's good to have a structure. It's good to have methods. But I found the best ways that as a young coach, when I was your age, 25, 26, 27, and I started in coaching, that, we had our very, very organized session plan, but we were constantly changing and adapting, and putting kids into different situations and making it difficult sometimes, making it easier sometimes. And then ultimately figuring out what player needs what and when. So, again, thank you so much. We invite you back anytime. We do these once a month, Zeb. So maybe some months you can come on and see some of the other guests like Sanjeev has, and we just kind of keep the learning and growing going. So appreciate
Love it.
So much.
It was a pleasure to share my knowledge. I hope the coaches who are listening had some takeaways. I think that's the beauty of the game, and that's the beauty of development, that we don't agree with everybody or everything. The different visions make it so inspiring. That's why we're all here. We are here to get the best out of every child, and it starts by keep growing and developing by ourselves. So I also love to keep in touch with all of you guys. So questions or sessions I like to send, and you can text me whenever you want. I'm trying to reply. I'm also planning to do a trip to America. I'm busy with Dutch Lions, and maybe we can meet up or we can see each other once again.
Well, we have a Dutch Lions here in Houston, so you got to come visit us here.
That would be lovely, Paul. That would be lovely. So thank you for listening. I hope you had some takeaways and that you can adapt and put into practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zeb. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Zeb.
Thanks, Zeb. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Zeb.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome stuff. Thank you.
Thanks for putting it together, Paul.